Tonight we bring you breaking news from South Asia, where violence has erupted in a dramatic and alarming fashion. Along the Durand Line, the historically contentious border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, tensions have reached a boiling point. Heavy gunfire and artillery have transformed the Torkham border crossing, a crucial trade artery and lifeline for both nations, into a chaotic war zone. This marks the most serious military confrontation between these two neighboring countries in recent years, escalating fears of a prolonged conflict. The situation remains volatile and rapidly evolving, with headlines across the globe screaming of impending war and retaliation. The conflict reportedly ignited after Afghan Taliban forces launched an aggressive attack on Pakistani border posts, prompting a swift and powerful response from the Pakistan army. Initial reports suggest a well-coordinated assault by the Afghan side, which was met with overwhelming force and determination by Pakistani forces. The international community is watching with growing concern, fearing that this could spiral into a wider conflict and a severe humanitarian crisis. Casualties are mounting on both sides, with terrified civilians fleeing border towns in search of safety and refuge. Hospitals in the region are on high alert, bracing for an influx of the wounded as ambulances rush to the scene. Families are being tragically separated, and livelihoods are being destroyed in the wake of this escalating conflict. Despite deep historical and cultural ties, the two nations find themselves locked in a dangerous and potentially devastating standoff. The key question remains: can diplomacy prevail in this tense situation, or are we witnessing the start of a new, dark chapter in their history? The coming days will be critical for the future of this volatile border as the world watches anxiously. Millions of lives hang in the balance, with the potential for widespread displacement and suffering. Our coverage continues as we closely track this developing crisis, bringing you the latest updates and insights. Stay with us for the latest updates as this situation unfolds, impacting not just the region but potentially the world. The violence began before dawn, shattering the uneasy silence that had settled over the border region in recent weeks. Under the cover of darkness, Afghan Taliban fighters moved with calculated precision, launching a surprise and highly coordinated assault. Their target: several Pakistani border posts in the volatile Khyber region, where tensions had been simmering for days. The attackers unleashed a barrage of heavy machine gun fire and mortars, hoping to overwhelm the defenders before they could organize a response. But Pakistani soldiers, alert and battle-hardened, quickly returned fire. The first shots of this new conflict echoed through the mountains, signaling the start of a fierce engagement. Pakistan's response was immediate and overwhelming. As the sky began to lighten, a major counteroffensive was launched, with heavy artillery pounding Taliban positions. With the arrival of daylight, the Pakistan Air Force entered the fray, launching precision airstrikes that targeted enemy strongholds along the rugged border. The show of force was unmistakable. Pakistan sent a clear message to its adversaries and the world: violations of its sovereignty would not be tolerated under any circumstances. Backed by relentless air power and coordinated ground maneuvers, Pakistani forces not only secured their threatened posts, but also managed to push the attackers back across the border. Several key border posts, briefly lost in the chaos, were recaptured by determined Pakistani troops, who raised their flag once more over the battered outposts. The tide of battle turned rapidly. The aggressors, caught off guard by the intensity of the response, were forced onto the defensive and began a hasty retreat. Reports from the ground indicate significant losses among the Afghan Taliban, with dozens of fighters neutralized and many more wounded or captured during the fighting. The aftermath was stark: captured posts littered with abandoned weapons, burnt-out vehicles, and clear evidence of the ferocity of the battle that had raged through the night. In Islamabad, the military issued a stern warning: any attack on Pakistani soil would be met with overwhelming and decisive force, leaving no doubt about the nation's resolve. The border, once a symbol of shared heritage and trade, has now become a heavily fortified and tense battlefield, marked by suspicion and fear. The region's fragile peace has been shattered, forcing thousands of civilians to flee their homes and leaving once bustling villages eerily deserted under the watchful eyes of soldiers. As the world watches with growing concern, international organizations and foreign governments urge restraint, hoping that cooler heads will prevail before the conflict spirals further out of control. Pakistan's military operation had a broader goal: dismantling militant infrastructure on Afghan soil. The targets: TTP and affiliated extremist camps responsible for attacks inside Pakistan. Intelligence agencies had mapped out these sanctuaries for months. When the time came, the military struck with deadly precision. Key TTP headquarters and training camps in Khost and Pakhtunkhwa were destroyed. Several high-value militant leaders were reportedly eliminated. The strikes have thrown these groups into disarray, crippling their operations. Pakistan insists its actions are against militants, not Afghan civilians. The government stresses its commitment to avoiding civilian casualties. The message: Pakistan will act unilaterally to protect its borders if necessary. The focus remains on neutralizing non-state actors threatening regional security. As border clashes escalate, regional powers are voicing concern. Iran urged restraint and immediate de-escalation, fearing further instability and a refugee crisis. Saudi Arabia and Qatar echoed calls for calm, urging both sides to seek a peaceful resolution. Qatar offered to mediate, emphasizing respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity. These statements highlight the region's delicate diplomatic balance. Allies understand that war would empower extremists and undermine cooperation. The message combats Khan Fulag. Not the answer. Return to dialogue. Diplomatic pressure is mounting for Islamabad and Kabul to step back from the brink. The world is watching for signs of de-escalation. Dialogue remains the only viable path forward. Pakistan has responded firmly and unequivocally to mounting criticism from both Kabul and New Delhi, making it clear that it will not tolerate external interference in its internal affairs or security decisions. The Afghan Taliban, in a strongly worded statement, condemned Pakistan's recent actions, labeling them a violation of Afghanistan's sovereignty and warning of potential consequences if such operations continue. In response, Pakistan's Foreign Office defended the operation as an act of self-defense, emphasizing that repeated intelligence warnings about militant sanctuaries across the border had been ignored by Afghan authorities. Islamabad maintains that it reserves the right to protect its citizens and territory from cross-border terrorism, especially when threats are left unaddressed by neighboring states. Meanwhile, India's call for restraint was swiftly dismissed by Pakistani officials as hypocritical, with Islamabad highlighting India's own controversial actions in Kashmir and questioning its moral authority to lecture others. Pakistani officials argue that their foremost responsibility is the safety and security of their own people, and that no foreign pressure will deter them from fulfilling this duty. The ongoing military operation is being framed domestically and internationally as a necessary defensive measure, not an act of aggression, aimed at neutralizing imminent threats. Pakistan is actively communicating its position to international partners, insisting on its sovereign right to act decisively in the face of security challenges and seeking understanding from the global community. At the same time, Islamabad is using this moment to draw attention to the ongoing Kashmir issue, arguing that its own security concerns are often overlooked while regional double standards persist. The broader strategy is clear: justify military action as a counter-terrorism necessity, while deflecting criticism by exposing inconsistencies in the positions of neighboring countries. Through both military resolve and diplomatic outreach, Pakistan signals that it will stand its ground, determined to defend its interests on all fronts. The message from Islamabad is unmistakable: national security and the protection of its people will always come first, above all else. The border conflict's impact has reached Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Authorities imposed heightened security, including suspending mobile internet to curb misinformation and disrupt militant communications. Roadblocks and checkpoints caused massive traffic jams and confusion. The usually bustling cities were subdued, with heavy police and paramilitary presence. Residents faced frustration and anxiety as daily life was disrupted. By afternoon, roads reopened and internet services were partially restored, bringing relief. Security remains tight, with checkpoints at sensitive locations. The crisis is a stark reminder of the fragility of urban life amid national security threats. The border conflict's ripple effects are felt far from the front lines. Residents hope for swift de-escalation and a return to normalcy. The day's events underscore how quickly security concerns can upend daily routines. The city remains on edge. Amid the security crisis, local politics in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa are in flux. The provincial assembly is selecting a new chief minister after the previous leader's resignation. This transition comes as the province faces direct fallout from the border conflict. The ruling party is negotiating to find a consensus candidate, aiming to project unity. Opposition parties demand a swift, transparent process, warning against a leadership vacuum. The stakes are high. Effective leadership is crucial for stability and coordination with the federal government. The outcome will directly impact governance in this strategically vital region. Residents hope for a leader who can address security, economic challenges, and refugee management. The assembly's decision will shape the province's response to ongoing tensions. Political drama unfolds as the region waits for new leadership. While South Asia simmers, global attention is also on the Middle East. Egypt is hosting a peace summit in Cairo, seeking solutions to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the Gaza humanitarian crisis. Leaders are discussing a two-state solution and urgent aid for Gaza, where conditions are catastrophic. Pakistan's foreign minister used the summit to draw parallels between Palestine and Kashmir, calling for consistent application of international law. The summit aims to mobilize aid and push for lasting peace. Pakistan's strategy: keep Kashmir on the global agenda by linking it to other struggles for self-determination. The interconnectedness of global conflicts is clear. Diplomacy and humanitarian action are needed everywhere. As leaders deliberate, the world hopes for relief in Gaza and progress toward peace. The search for solutions continues on multiple fronts. Amid conflict and crisis, Lahore finds a welcome distraction in sports. The Test cricket match between Pakistan and Australia at Gaddafi Stadium has captured national attention. Fans fill the stands, their cheers a reminder that life goes on. Pakistan's bowlers are performing well, offering a morale boost to a nation under strain. The match is a brief respite from the anxieties of war and politics. Expert commentary praises the team's discipline and strategy. The success on the field inspires national pride and unity. As play ends, Pakistan holds a strong position, raising hopes for victory. This small triumph lifts spirits and reminds the nation of its resilience. Even in turbulent times, the power of sport endures.